Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, the crossover, the fact that it passed the House means that now it needs to go past the Senate. Which usually needs to happen, just by the end of session, which is the end of March, basically. And so, and then the governor signs it way later, like,
You can sign whenever you want.
he can sign it right away.
That's the way I understand it too, and with them pushing the
Oh, dang.
the hemp grow licenses being tied to this, they're hurrying.
Exactly. Well, they haven't fixed what they need to fix yet.
Oh, I agree.
So, that, the two are exclusive to one another. The revisions to the bill still don't fix what they need to fix to conform to the USDA rules.
Oh,
That's a
I
budget
agree
issue.
100%. Yeah.
And they're
Oh, they still haven't?
fighting over the budget, so it's not, they're not gonna get it through this session. No way.
They're not gonna get it passed in the
They're
Senate?
not gonna find $1.6 million when everybody's being told to slash. They're not gonna find $1.6 million for this program.
But they've promised farmers and processors they'll have licenses this year, and they're
Well,
already
they're morons
taking
because, well, that's the,
applications for processors.
okay, but here's
And
the thing.
I'm not arguing, I'm just
Well, no.
devil's advocate, yeah.
Okay, but
And I've heard that, and I don't understand that side of it, but I definitely.
well, the
like to hear-
USDA, read the regs of the USDA says if there's not a plan in place for the state, then you can get a USDA grow license. So, and by the way, USDA grow license is free.
Imagine that.
Is it really?
I mean, there might be an application fee or something, but there's nothing in the statute that says there's any kind of fee schedule.
So if that is the real case, why would someone want to pay $25,000 for uncertain situation?
Well, but that's, okay,
That's
but that's
processing.
that's
Right, that's the
processing.
process,
Which is
We don't touch
50,000 right now.
Right.
It was 25,000 with HB 213.
No, it's 25 initially, and
And
it's,
then
they're gonna
the-
bump up the
and the-
renewal to 50.
It's 50 for the year, for the next year. Right. And the $100,000 surety bond that they have to have, and everything else that comes with that. Okay, that's fine, sir. So if you're charging $25,000, right there, you already now push a ton of people out of the way. Who got $25,000?
Well, you've also covered any expense you're gonna incur by, having to do all this work, so now it's just greed.
Right. Okay, I have nothing else to say. You know what I mean? So again, so now it's about how do we position ourselves from a legal point of view so that we can truly be included in the bigger picture that's about to happen. And then don't forget the coronavirus and all this other stuff that they got going on. How does that affect those within the space as well? From your legal mind, I'm waiting to hear it.
They can charge whatever they wanna charge, the money's not,
Yeah? You here for
Right.
the hemp meeting?
the money's not,
Danielle.
it's a non-issue. I mean, they
Well,
can
some.
charge whatever they wanna charge,
Right.
they'll just drive everybody out of business.
Right, and
Drive everyone out
especially
of
those
state.
who have felonies that had possession or whatever before, you get
Felony
misdemeanor.
stuff, I
A
can't wait
misdemeanor.
for the felony stuff.
Right, so,
There's problems with that too.
exactly, exactly.
I'm sure you're familiar with the Indiana case.
Yep. I don't know those guys, but I know a guy who's kind of piggybacking the Indiana case in South Carolina.
And I work with a farm in South Carolina that may be tied to that same group. And, yeah, they've got a mess going on over there. So.
Well, South Carolina's worse than.
Yeah, there's a lot of slippery slopes that we still gotta get through. And we're still in the infancy stage, we haven't even hit the surface.
I mean, nobody's really making any money doing this business right now in
Exactly.
Georgia. Kind of assuring you nobody will.
I disagree. I'm making money right now, and I want to keep doing
Well,
it. So,
okay.
yeah.
What do you have a shot?
Yeah, I own Alpine Dispensary up in Helen, but we're a $1 million business.
Oh, okay.
I sold
It's so good to meet you.
$25,000 worth of flour this weekend. So it is.
So everything must go with the flower.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that a little bit.
I've got a sign-in sheet.
I think that there's a way to hit that. And then there's also, you know, when you read the statute, right? The way it reads is that the restriction from selling it at retail is only for someone who holds a processor license.
I don't disagree, yeah, I mean, I
Okay,
see
so
your
you read it
exact
the same
same
way.
angle, yeah.
Yeah, so.
And I'm not
if you
lawyer,
don't-
but
If
that's
you don't
just
read
so
it,
poorly
and
written.
I got a head shop,
Yeah,
Well, they just have to do something.
but at the same time, totally unrelated, but
Right.
similar process. When the governor signed the legislation against spice, they kicked everybody's doors down, took it off the shelf at 12 o'clock midnight,
Right.
as soon as he signed this legislation.
on the gambling machines, and yeah, they'll do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Now, are you working with veterans, sir? Are you working with veterans for the plant? Like giving them,
I've employed 2 veterans right now, and then myself, and I have reached out to several veterans groups,
like who, fancy?
Project Lead for Warriors.
Yes, I'm familiar with them.
I'm just trying to give them money and I can't get them to call me back.
That's the bill.
Really?
And that's ever achieves more than 0.3% THC, it's marijuana.
Right.
Every time.
Yeah, but every time you do it,
Every time
you
you process flower, it goes hot.
Okay, so
Yeah, so basically you have to destroy everything that gets processed.
we are going to officially get started with the meeting. I've got a couple of things on the agenda. Thank you all for being here. We are going to start with quick introductions of ourselves, so just like less than a minute saying who you are, why you're here. And then we are going to call a couple of senators together. And then we're going to have our guest speaker, Mark, in the House. And then we're going to call one more senator. And then we're going to all say the sacred agreement together, which is about creating space for what we really want on at least some level, if not in this physical reality, to pay right for it. So, come up to the mic and just say who you are, one by one. You don't have to come to the mic if you don't want to. And just so, yeah, everyone can see you, hear you.
Oh, my. Alpine Dispensary up in Helen, Georgia. We're probably one of Georgia's largest hemp retailers. 25 different strains of loose bud and flower, pre-rolls, wax, dabs, everything you can do with hemp. I ended up in this profession through PTSD. I did over 50 deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan with the Army and CIA, and it was life-changing for me. So I walked away from a very good career to try to help my fellow veterans.
Thank you.
What segues me? Good morning. My name is Life Darrell Griffith. I'm the CEO and founder of Veterans Health Solutions First to Care. We are a nonprofit public benefit corporation teaching veterans, especially minority and underserved veterans, how to access hemp. I served 19 years in the military as a combat medic. Military police. I worked in JAG. And also worked with the federal government helping veterans and service-connected claims to ensure that they get compensated for their medical issues that sometimes veterans have, like PTSD and other issues. I'm now out here in Georgia. I'm also the CEO of XL Hemp Consultants out in Belize, which is where I was born. So I do a lot of work out there, especially in the hemp space. And now I'm here to spread my royal oats to find out how we work together and how we can be included, not from a black or white issue, but more so an economic issue as it relates to this industry abroad. So thank you for having me.
Hi, my name is Danielle Johnson. I'm a co-founder and partner at ECCE LLC here in Georgia, out of Atlanta. We have a couple different branches of our company. One is a flower distribution. So we do resale, wholesale, flower, and we do other projects, consulting, cosmetics, products, all the things. And yeah, I spent a lot of time in California working with farmers, have a lot of farm partners, lab partners out west that I use, and my whole goal is to create business here on the East Coast, in Georgia especially, because this is my home. So, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
You'll be hearing from me later, but my name is Mark Yurachek. I'm an attorney here in Atlanta. I focus my practice primarily on criminal defense and appellate issues currently. I am moving my practice toward a cannabis and regulatory practice, hopefully. And I'll be talking later about House Bill 847 and maybe some of the holes that they left for me or some other enterprising attorney to attack. So look forward to speaking to you in a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Chase Christensen. I'm a co-founder and owner of a new dispensary wellness shop, Peachtree Wellness. I also work with DJ on distributing and wholesale. Help a lot of farmers out west with consulting and all kinds of stuff. Just a young entrepreneur, really believe in and all around cannabis. So thanks, guys.
Good morning. My name is Odell Dixon. I'm a resident of Georgia. I've been here pretty much all my life, and I'm interested in farming hemp. I've been going back and forth to hemp convention. One time I went to Atlanta, they had a couple weeks ago. But I'm just a farmer. I'm interested in getting into it, maybe into the spiritual side. So just come and see what any information I can get for myself better. So, should learn.
Who's ready to call a senator? Let's go through the process together. Let's show the folks at home how to do it. So I need one volunteer to come up here with their phone. And why don't we start with Senator Walker? I think, is he the chair of the Ag Committee?
Wilkinson.
Is it Wilkinson? Or Walker might be the vice. Let's do it. So if you've got a computer, you could look it up, www.senate.georgia.gov. You can call your senator. You can, at the top, there's a tab, and you can choose it. It says senators, and you can find your district. My senator in like the Decatur area is Elena Parent.
I already called mine this morning.
I said mine's 11.
Yeah. So who wants to call Larry Walker or Wilkinson with me right now on stage? She's doing it! Ow! All right. Does someone else want to look up the number?
Working on it.
Yeah.
Oh.
What's the website?
www.senate.georgia.gov. You're ready for a phone number? Are you looking it up? Should I look it up?
I'm trying to make sure that is the right, you gotta call.
Well, we'll call two of them. So I definitely want to talk to him. Or his office manager, which is probably what it's going to be. But you never know. Mercury's in retrograde. That's the best time to reach him because weird things happen.
John Wilkinson is the chairman.
All right, let's call him. He's a very
His
sweet
office
man.
number is 404-463-5257.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling the office of Senator John Wilkins.
Redial. I guess my instincts about Walker. Yeah,
Look,
there's
I got
something
his
about-
number up too.
Something about instincts also. Follow your instincts. If a name pops in your head, you're supposed to call them. Hi, is Senator Wilkinson available? Sure, this is Aviva with the Georgia Hemp Economic Revival Organization. Can I make an appointment to see him? I'll be in the Capitol tomorrow.
Sure. It's Aviva, A-V-I-V-A, Vuvuzela, V-U-V-U-Z-E-L-A, V as in violin, U-V-U-Z-E-L-A. And he, yes. Yes, or later today, he's gonna be there after 4. The Georgia Hemp Economic Revival Organization. This is concerning HB847. We met last year and spoke about HB213. Okay, do you want my email? Yeah, it's usahemprevival@gmail.com. Email is best for me. And I'll email you later a reminder. What's your name? Okay, thank you. usahemprevival@gmail.com.
Alright, well, thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask you one more thing, Willie? Do you know if they're going to have the Ag Committee meeting tomorrow at 4? Has it been postponed? Do you know when they're going to read HB847 in the committee?
I'm not sure. If you get a meeting with several of us, I'm sure you can answer those questions.
Okay, thanks so much.
Alright, thank you.
All right, good job, Walker, and then we're done. Yeah.
I got Walker 404 656 0095.
This is so much more fun than doing it at home by myself. Hi, Ryan. Is Senator Walker there?
He is not available right now. Can I take a message?
Sure. This is Aviva with the Georgia Hemp Economic Revival Organization. I'd love to make an appointment to see him again. Mm-hmm.
And we also work with Senator Wilkinson, so I believe we have all of your information.
Oh, okay. Great.
Just spoke to Andrew and Willie.
Okay, perfect.
So
Now,
we will try to set something up for you guys.
yeah, if it's
Maybe you'll call back if he's available.
great, and if it could be close to the same time, that would be amazing.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. So, with no further ado, our guest speaker for the day, Mark, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you and your passion for the cause. So, let's get into HB847, everyone. Give them a warm welcome.
Well, first of all, thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. This is a new industry for all of us in this state. My background is that I've been practicing law for about 20 years now. Started out working for a lawyer named David Wolf, who's fairly well known around here. The first trial I ever walked into as an attorney was actually the Ray Lewis trial, and it's all been downhill from there. I've been in solo practice for about 15 years. My practice focuses on appeals and post-conviction work, primarily in criminal cases, but also in civil stuff too. It was brought to my attention round about 6 months or a year ago that not only was hemp becoming legal in Georgia, but there really weren't any lawyers who were focusing their practice on it. It was just a lot of people like me who were criminal defense lawyers who were advising people more or less on the side as to what the law was and how it was changing, but that can or voice our concerns about where the law is going. Today, let's talk about HB 847, which, at least within this circle, probably rivals coronavirus in terms of the reaction it's drawn over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to just kind of go by the assumption that everybody's familiar with 847, at least to the extent that they know that originally the bill had intended to criminalize possession of any quantity of hemp, which a lot of people would argue runs directly counter to the legalization of hemp under the 2018 Farm Bill, federally anyway. interstate in these United States without getting arrested for possessing hemp, which was too little too late for the folks at Big Sky Scientific, the guys who got pulled over in Idaho with a truckload of hemp, and ended up, the guy who was driving the truck actually ended up pleading to a felony in that case and getting some prison time. So that's still an issue. It's going to be an issue. We know that Indiana recently tried to restrict hemp to the point where they were saying you can't even transport it, all in an effort to ban smokable hemp, which I'll get into in a minute. But a federal judge in Indiana has said that that goes too far, that it's a restriction on interstate transportation of hemp. I found it kind of interesting that as a sort of a secondary ground for issuing the injunction to the Indiana bill, the judge said that the Indiana bill frustrates the purposes of the 2019 Farm Bill, in that it's saying that the states can cherry pick which kinds of hemp they do and don't want in their state, and I think that'll lead to some bad consequences. I just don't think it's functionally workable. But the states are really grappling with this smokable issue because a lot of them want to keep it out, basically because it ends up being a backdoor legalization of marijuana, since not even the dogs can tell the difference. It's not really going to be the focus of my conversation, but I encourage you to go to my website. I've written about that. That article should be up tomorrow, maybe even later this afternoon. As for today, let's talk about where we are with 847. I started in the definitions section, and I'm not going to go point by point through the entire bill, but I'm going to hit on a couple of things that I found interesting. So starting with the definitions section, there was an exclusion that was added to the definition of what's called hemp products. That exclusion states the term shall not include any part of the plant of the genus Cannabis except for the completely defoliated mature stalks of such plant, fiber produced from such stalks, or completely sterilized seeds of the plant which are incapable of germination. Okay, what's that mean? I think that the most important word in that entire section is the word defoliated, meaning no leaves, no flowers. The point here is to say that hemp flower or smokable hemp is not a hemp product. So it's unlawful to sell, under the current law, unprocessed flower at retail, okay? And this clarifies that flowers are not hemp products. That might be a way of getting around that ban. I'm going to hit back at that in a minute, but let's talk about the definition of process, because that also changed. And it also changed with an exclusion. What it states is this term does not include merely placing raw or dried material into another container or packing raw or dried material for resale. Okay, whereas I think the definition of hemp products is probably bad for a lot of people, and especially our retailers. I think the change in the definition of process is actually a benefit to the farmers and the growers. The reason is that it previously, under the law that's in effect right now, it's unlawful for processors, and likely anyone, to sell unprocessed flowers at retail, right? So what this may do, or it appears to do, is to distinguish resale from retail, which is not great because, frankly, the statute doesn't define what either one means. Just to take a minute and walk through that, if I am one who wishes to sell raw hemp, which I've received packaged in pound loads or 10-pound loads, the question becomes, can I sell them at wholesale if I can't sell them at retail? And where does that line get drawn? Is CVS banned from selling hemp flour, but Costco's not? There's no line, and if you're going to criminalize behavior, if you're going to say something is unlawful, the first rule is that you have to give the citizens fair warning of what you're criminalizing. In other words, as a citizen, I have to know what's illegal so that I can avoid intentionally violating the law, or unintentionally violating the law. So I think that part of it is a bit of an issue. What I think is good about this definition of process is that it clarifies that growers can package what they've grown and sell that off to whoever that they are allowed under the law to sell to. Because right now, the way I read the law, someone who's a grower would have to have a processor permit as well, just to bag up what they've harvested and sell it on to the people they're allowed to sell to, which is currently only permittees. And you got a question?
Yeah, I have a question. How does that relate to the testing reality that in order to properly process this hemp and package the hemp, it had to be tested first or whatever it is in order to make sure that it has a low THC of 0.3 or whatever it is. How does that affect this 847 as relates to distribution and all those different things when it comes to that?
Well,
Do
okay.
you understand the question?
With testing, of course, you only have to test samples. It's not like you have to test the whole load. So the samples would be actually, and the law as currently stated authorizes the Department of Agriculture to come onto the property and take their samples themselves. So
Or using an outside source to do so.
well, they're allowed to use an outside source, or they can use their lab. I think it's in Tifton. So basically, I don't think it has much of an effect on that. The farmers were always going to be subject to having the government coming onto their property and onto unannounced. It's effectively what we would call a Fourth Amendment waiver. So it's more or less no different than if these guys were on probation or parole, and as a condition of that, told the government that it was okay to come into their property any time to search it. That's the price you pay for having a hemp farm.
It's not the same though, because they haven't violated any laws.
Right.
So is there other cases where you can sign away your Fourth Amendment rights besides joining the military?
Well, in this case, it's a condition of licensure, and they can put any condition they want on it. You're free not to get the license. That's what they're going to say. I agree with you that a blanket Fourth Amendment waiver like that. And the question's not so much as that they come onto your property and go into your hemp field. No, suddenly it's weed. It's just marijuana. It's growing there. I think I don't think there's a judge in the world that's going to be too disturbed by that. I'm more worried about if they come onto your property, walk around there, and then they're walking back past the house or something like that. See a bunch of guns inside. See a kilogram of cocaine sitting on the kitchen table, which they never would have seen if they hadn't been on your property.
How does that connect to being a private citizen as opposed to the public citizen in which the law
You're not a
enforces?
public. You're a private citizen. There's a public citizen is. Yeah, that's
But
getting
you have
into
some
some
people
stuff
say,
that's
this is
not.
private property, I'm a private.
sorry?
You have some people who say, this is my private property, I'm a private citizen.
Sure.
Therefore, not even law enforcement can come on my property unless they have a warrant, or unless they have certain parameters or certain things to justify why they're there. In terms of, because you do have some people in Georgia that are private citizens, as it relates to,
Yeah, I think you're talking about sovereign citizens. And
well, not even sovereignty, but more so just, you have some people who say, hey, I'm private and laws don't affect me and you just can't come on my property or I'll shoot you, all these other things that go on. So I just wanted to know how did that.
not only would I support them saying that, I defend them to do it too.
Right.
But this is a different situation. You are asking the government for something. You are asking the government for a license to grow hemp on your farm, which the government has deemed to be their province, and which the United States government has said that Georgia's government
Right,
should
the state,
and must
right.
regulate.
Right.
So in order to get that permission, to get that license, right, then Georgia's set certain conditions on it, okay? And one of those conditions is, hey, if we're gonna let you grow here, we're gonna be able to come on and spot check your property. And it's not any time, it's actually reasonable, during business hours, reasonable business hours. So they are restricted, at least, they can't come knocking on your door at 3 a.m. But,
That's
to
when we do
answer
our
your
best work,
question,
right?
to answer your question, we're all private citizens.
Right,
And
right.
the Fourth Amendment says the government can't come onto our property.
Right.
As well as, by the way, Article 1, Section 1, Paragraph 1 of the Georgia Constitution says government can't come onto our property without a warrant. in order to investigate a crime. They can come knock on the door anytime they want them to come in, if we don't want them to. The problem is that you're not talking about a strict relationship like that. We as the growers are coming to them and asking for them
They
to
license
give us
too.
that.
Right.
It's an analogous situation is the fact that, you know, every person here is probably holding a driver's license.
Right.
We never really think about what that means, but what it is Georgia's permission for us to drive on the highways and roads that they have paved and maintained. And one of the main conditions of driving on those roads, right, is that if an officer of the law, duly sworn Georgia police officer pulls me over, then I'm to cooperate with anything he wants to know from me, including if I've been drinking and driving. If I refuse to cooperate with him, he has the ability right then and there as a representative of the state of Georgia to revoke my license to drive and seize my license. Now, before he can take it away, I can go to court and challenge circumstances of taking that license. The fact of the matter is the only reason that you, me, him, or her get to drive on the roads in the state of Georgia is because they paid their taxpayers paid the money to pave the roads and have given you permission to drive on their roads.
Right. It's not a right,
So
it's a privilege.
it's a privilege. So license to grow is analogous in that way. Everybody can't grow hemp. There are people who have a huge problem with that
Obviously.
in their backyard. But the fact is that's where we are in the law, and we have to work within confines of the law right now. Okay? So I hope that answered your question.
Oh yeah, no.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
about the specific definitions there? Who can produce hemp products? In other words, do the processors have to take it from the flower all the way to the retail bottle, or at what point when can they sell it to who?
That's a great question.